The rain hammered the cafe windows like 1,000 tiny fists, each drop blurring the yellow taxis outside into streaks of gold against the gray New York afternoon. Inside, the scent of vanilla frosting and fresh coffee hung heavy, but it did nothing to warm the chill that had settled in Emily Harper's chest. She sat alone at the small round table by the window, her wheelchair angled toward the birthday cake that no one had come to share. 21 candles flickered on the white frosted tiers, their flames trembling as if they, too, sensed the weight of her solitude. Emily's fingers rested on the armrests, knuckles pale, her hazel eyes fixed on the cake's single word piped in pink icing, happy. The word mocked her. Happy. As if the universe hadn't already taken enough. If you believe in the ripple of love, one small act that can change everything, hit that like button now, drop a comment with the word ripple, share this video with someone who needs it, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a story that proves kindness still exists. Emily Harper wasn't supposed to be here, not like this. 3 years ago, she'd been the girl sprinting across Columbia's campus, her laughter trailing behind her like a kite string, her future a bright, open road. Daughter of tech mogul Richard Harper, CEO of Harper Dynamics, she'd grown up in penthouses and private schools, but she'd never let privilege define her. She'd been the one organizing charity runs, tutoring kids in the Bronx, dreaming of a nonprofit that would build accessible playgrounds for children with disabilities. Then came the night that rewrote her story. A drunk driver. A screech of tires. A spinal cord severed at T6. The doctors had been kind but blunt, she'd never walk again. Her father, a man who could buy islands but not miracles, had thrown millions at experimental treatments, flown her to Switzerland, Germany, anywhere with a whisper of hope. Nothing worked. Emily's body had betrayed her, and in the silence of her hospital room, she'd heard the truth no one dared speak. Her father's love came with expectations she could no longer meet. Richard Harper had always been larger than life, a titan in boardrooms, his name on skyscrapers and stock tickers. But grief had a way of shrinking even giants. He'd stopped looking Emily in the eye after the accident, as if her wheelchair were a mirror reflecting his failure to protect her. Her mother had left when Emily was 7, chasing a life that didn't include a husband married to his empire. Now, at 21, Emily's world was a luxury apartment with a nurse who spoke in soft condolences and a father who sent gifts instead of time. Today was her birthday, and she'd begged for this one thing, a small celebration at the cozy corner, the cafe where she used to study with friends. She'd planned it herself, wheeling through the city alone, reserving the table, ordering the cake. She'd even sent invitations, digital, elegant, hopeful. No one came. Not her old college friends, who drifted away when wheelchair ramps replaced late-night diner runs. Not her father, who'd texted a clipped apology about a board meeting in Tokyo. The cake sat untouched, its candles burning lower, and Emily felt the familiar ache of being unseen, unloved, unfixable. Across the cafe, Jake Sullivan balanced a tray with one hand and his daughter Lily's tiny fingers with the other. The 5-year-old clutched a cupcake like it was treasure, her yellow dress smudged with chocolate. Jake's flannel shirt was frayed at the cuffs, his boots scuffed from construction sites. He was a single dad, a carpenter who built dreams for strangers while patching together a life for Lily after her mother walked out 2 years ago. The cafe was their Saturday ritual, a splurge for cocoa and pastries when the budget allowed. Today, Lily had insisted on a cupcake with a star sprinkle, her eyes wide with the kind of joy only kids can muster. Jake had saved for weeks to make her happy, skipping his own coffee to afford the treat. He was about to steer her to their usual corner booth when Lily stopped, her gaze locked on the woman in the wheelchair. The cake. The candles. The loneliness radiating from the table like heat from a fire. Lily tugged Jake's hand, her voice a whisper that carried the weight of instinct. "Daddy, she's sad." Jake followed her gaze, and something in his chest twisted. He knew that look, the kind that came from carrying more than your body could hold. He'd seen it in his own mirror after Sarah left, after the bills piled up, after he'd cried in the shower so Lily wouldn't hear. The woman at the table was young, maybe his age, her brown hair falling in waves over a pink sweater that seemed too bright for the shadow in her eyes. The cake said 21, but the candles were half burned, and no one else was there. Jake hesitated, his instinct to avoid meddling warring with the pull of Lily's compassion. Then Lily pulled harder, her small voice cutting through the cafe's hum. "Can we join her, Daddy? It's her birthday." Emily didn't notice them at first. She was tracing the wheel of her chair, her mind drifting to the life she'd lost, running, dancing, the simple act of standing to hug someone. The candles were drowning in wax now, and she considered blowing them out, wheeling home, and pretending this day never happened. Then she heard the voice, small but clear, like a bell in the fog. She looked up, and there was a little girl in a yellow dress, holding a cupcake, her eyes wide with something Emily hadn't seen in years, unguarded kindness. Behind her stood a man, tall and rugged, his face weathered but gentle, holding a tray with 2 cocos and a pastry bag. He looked as uncertain as she felt, but the girl was already moving, her steps purposeful. "May we join you?" the man asked, his voice low, almost apologetic, as if he were intruding on sacred ground. Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to say no, to protect the fragile wall she'd built around her heart. But the girl, Lily, the man called her, was already pulling a chair, her cupcake placed carefully beside the cake like an offering. Emily managed a nod, her voice caught somewhere between a sob and a laugh. The man introduced himself as Jake, his daughter as Lily, and before Emily could process it, they were sitting across from her, the table suddenly less empty, the air less heavy. Lily didn't waste time. She leaned forward, her elbows on the table, and studied the cake with solemn curiosity. 21 is a big number, she said. I'm 5. Daddy says I'm growing too fast. Jake chuckled, a sound that warmed the space, and Emily found herself smiling despite herself. He asked if they could light a few more candles, some had gone out, and before she knew it, he was relighting them with a lighter from his pocket, his hands steady, calloused from work. Lily sang, "Happy Birthday," her voice off-key but fierce with conviction, and Jake joined in, his baritone soft but sure. Emily's eyes burned. She hadn't heard that song sung for her in years, not since before the accident, when life was parties and possibilities. They ate cake together, the 3 of them, strangers bound by a moment of grace. Jake cut careful slices, making sure Emily's was on a sturdy plate she could manage. Lily told stories, about her preschool, her pet goldfish named Sparkle, her dream of being an astronaut. Emily listened, her heart cracking open with every word. Jake didn't pry, didn't ask about the wheelchair or the absent guests. Instead, he shared small pieces of his life, how he built playgrounds for a living, how Lily loved swings, how he was saving for a house with a yard. Emily found herself talking, too, her voice rusty but growing stronger. She told them about her nonprofit dreams, her love for kids, the way she used to run 5 Burmese chats for charity. She didn't mention the accident, but Jake's eyes held understanding, as if he'd pieced it together and chose not to make it her whole story. The rain slowed outside, the cafe growing quieter as the afternoon faded. Emily realized she was laughing, a real laugh, the kind that started in her belly and spilled out before she could stop it. Lily had frosting on her nose, and Jake was wiping it off with a napkin, his movements gentle, practiced. For the first time in years, Emily felt seen, not as the CEO's tragic daughter or the girl in the wheelchair, but as Emily, funny, passionate, alive. When Lily asked if she could push Emily's chair to the window to see the rainbow forming outside, Emily didn't hesitate. She let the little girl take the handles, let Jake walk beside them, his hand brushing the armrest as if to say, "I've got you." They exchanged numbers before parting, a promise to meet again. Jake said he'd love Lily to have a friend like Emily, someone who understood dreams bigger than circumstances. Emily watched them leave, Lily waving until she was out of sight, Jake's broad shoulders a steady silhouette against the rain-washed street.